Hey everyone, and welcome to your weekly check-in for this week. This is January 22nd, and we'll just go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so we are in week 3 on our course schedule. Um, this week we are going over Module 2, Lessons 3, 4, and 5, and then we also have a discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over there and show you where that stuff is located at. So this week also, it's a little bit different from last week where we completed like the whole module in 1 week. This week we're gonna have like the module 2 will be broken into 2 weeks. So we don't have everything that's due in module 2 that's due this week. So there is a second discussion and then there is also a quiz. But this week we are only just looking at the due dates for the 28th. And that's just the ed puzzles for lessons 3 through 5 and then the lesson 3 line drawing discussion. But lesson 5 color assignment discussion and module 2 quiz, those are both, as we can see, not due until next Sunday. And I think I've talked about this before, but we cannot work ahead in this course, and I have that set up just so we don't accidentally go 21 plus days and being inactive, meaning that like if you complete 2 or 3 modules worth of work and then are not in the class or like not participating in the class for those 3 weeks, then it can still go in as a like inactive. And so that's why everything is on adaptive release, so you can't work ahead to avoid risking that. But yeah, the only things that you should see in module 2 right now are the lesson 3 line drawing discussion. You'll also see the PowerPoint, the Ed Puzzle folder, and then the skeletal notes. So let's look at our well, first, I guess we'll just acknowledge what the Ed puzzles are going to be about. So, lessons 3 through 5, this is going to cover our elements of design. And this is really sort of the setup for a lot of the other kind of discussion and just like terminology essentially that we're going to use for the remainder of the class. The elements of art are really just like the foundation of what makes up art. These are things like color, line, shape, space, value, and I'll discuss all of those in these ed puzzles. But a lot of terminology here, but a lot of good stuff that you'll use from here on out to talk about your artwork with and to help with like your papers and your art analysis, especially. So make sure if it helps you that you download the skeletal notes here and that you fill those in as you're watching along on the ed puzzle. And then also with the ed puzzles, please make sure that you are answering the questions that go along within the ed puzzles. If you're not answering those questions, you're not going to get full credit for the ed puzzle in the grade book. So make sure you're doing that. And then lastly, just want to address because I did make an announcement about it a few weeks or not a few weeks ago, last week, but just as a reminder, because I think some people are still kind of freaking out about this. The ed puzzles, they link back to Blackboard automatically. And so this is before I have time to actually like go in and grade your written responses. So whenever it links back, it doesn't give you full credit for the ed puzzle yet. And that's okay. So if you're seeing that you have like a 25% or a 16% or a 50% on an ed puzzle and you know you answered the questions and you watched the whole thing, that is just because I have not graded it yet. Now, everything that was due last week in lessons 1 and 2, I've already graded those. It's again Monday at 11 a.m. And typically I will have your ed puzzles graded just like first thing Monday morning after the due date has passed. At 11:59 on Sunday the night before. So don't worry, it'll be corrected just as soon as possible. But it is just like a weird thing we haven't totally worked out yet how to not sync the grade book on Ed Puzzle automatically and delay it until I have graded the assignment. So just don't panic if you're seeing your Ed Puzzles are a low grade before like the week after they're due. You're with everybody else there. And yeah, so that's what we'll be covering this week. And then we go back up here to our line drawing discussion. I really enjoy this one. It's a chance kind of for you to be a bit creative and, actually make some artwork as well. And you can be as elaborate on this as you want to. And I always really enjoy looking at these as well. So The line drawing discussion, one of our elements of art is line, and it's kind of like our most basic, just like foundational element. Lesson three explores different varieties and qualities of line, such as implied, psychic, and gesture. This assignment investigates the expressive qualities of line in a work of art, or in the work of artist Solowitt. So, Solowitt was actually, and this is, I'm just going to kind of summarize, or I guess not even summarize, but expand on this little bio on Solowitt here. He was originally an architect, and he was interested in the fact that, like, he was an architect, which typically are people who are known for making things or like building things. However, he really didn't ever build anything. He just like designed the plans to build something and then gave it to other people who to actually create the architectural piece from. So he wanted to apply that same logic to other kinds of artwork, such as painting and sculpture and drawing in other forms. And you can see here, this is a mural that was done at the Beckler Museum in Charlotte. And this is probably done by the curator or the gallery assistants, or just whoever was working at the museum. But instead of buying the artwork itself, they buy the rights to his blueprints for this artwork. So he'll give instructions on how to create a painting or a sculpture or a drawing, and let the individual who is reading the instructions interpret it for what they will see. And the cool thing about this is that you give these instructions to 10 different people and you're going to have 10 different results. They're not all going to be the same. It's based on the person's interpretation of the instructions and how they choose to execute, the actual product that's created. And it's kind of like that with architecture too. So the instructions for you guys this week, after reading this little bio, and you can look through his work right here as well, or examples of like how this has been done, in other places other than Beckler. You'll need to collect some supplies. You don't need to go buy anything. You don't need to, go out and buy, all new watercolors or colored pencils, anything like that. Just whatever you have at home, totally fine. Even if you just have a piece of paper and a pencil, that will work. But you can get more elaborate if you want to. It's totally up to you. Um, you just basic things you need. You do need a piece of 8.5 by 11 sheet of white paper. I would, if you absolutely cannot find any like copy paper, like just regular old printer paper like this, you're more than welcome to use just like a notebook paper, anything like that. But I would prefer like a lineless paper just so you can see the drawing better. Um, and then just a pen or a pencil will be fine. And then just some sort of straight edge. I mean, you can use a ruler if you have one. You could also just use like, the side of your notebook, whatever you want to use to make a straight edge with. And then you will follow these instructions below that I have created to draw the drawing such as Solowitt would do. And remember, before you begin this, there is no right or wrong way to interpret these instructions. It's totally up to you. And I do encourage that you think outside the box. Some instructions are intentionally vague so that you will use divergent thinking to get your results from it. So this is the instructions here, and you interpret them however you would like to. So this is a discussion. So after you have created your drawing, you'll want to take a nice clean photo of it. Don't have, a bunch of blurriness on it. I know a lot of students have Chromebooks, if you are in a high school class. So I would, it's totally fine if you want to use the camera on your Chromebook, but a lot of the times, and if you're looking in the little box at me right here, this is the kind of thing I'll get. Is just instead of it trying to be nice and clean, like all the way covering your camera, I'll get it like this. And sometimes it's like you're way back here and holding your drawing up. Try to keep it as clean as you possibly can. Just holding it nicely up to the camera and making sure we can see all the lines and everything will be totally fine. Or just taking a photo on your phone, emailing it to yourself, and then saving it as a PDF. That always is a good option as well. So you'll want to upload that image, and then for your initial post, which is what I call like your portion of the discussion, You'll need to briefly describe the different qualities that lines of the lines that are in your finished drawing, and be sure to use at least two vocabulary words from lesson three. And lesson three is about line, so make sure that you're only using terminology from lesson three, and it's not coming from four or five or an earlier lesson. I'm wanting you to like use, you know, uh, terminology like gesture line and psychic line and the applied line and contour line and things like that. So try to make sure that you're being specific to lesson three. And then once you have created your post, you'll need to respond to a classmate, and it's just one classmate, but I do want you to identify and correctly use vocabulary that describes something in their artwork. Again, two vocabulary words at the minimum for your response. This is definitely not going to get full credit if it's just like a I like your artwork kind of thing. Um, Usually, whenever I do discussions, I either do three or one response to a student or to a classmate. And if it's one response, then I want that response to be like well developed. And I want your, three comments to be developed as well. But really, if it's one, if I'm like shortening the number, you need to put more effort into that one comment, as much effort as you would put into three comments, essentially. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's all that we have to do this week. We just need to do the ed puzzles. There are, I think, maybe one or two additional ed puzzles in addition, just the one. So how we see color. So you'll need to watch lesson three, four, and five that are like my lecture videos and answer the questions that are within those, and then also watch the how we see color video. All of those will be graded, so make sure you don't leave any of those out. Otherwise, though, I think that is it for our check-in today. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to call me on myself or not on my cell phone, on my work phone, um, either today, Monday, until around 1:30, or you can reach out on Wednesday from 10ish until 1:30ish as well, and I'll answer. Or you can email me, or we can set up a Zoom meeting, whatever we need to do. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I look forward to talking with you next week.